It was a normal evening, or so I thought, working my usual late shift at the mall. I had been working at the same department store for a while now, and honestly, the job had become routine. Most of the time, the mall was bustling with people, but tonight was different. The usual crowd had left, and it was just me and the other late-night workers finishing up our shifts. I was working alone in the store, my co-workers slowly trickling out for the night. The store was in a part of the mall that wasn't too busy, but we always had some late-night customers here and there. And then, as the hours passed, the mall grew quieter. The flickering lights above me and the distant hum of the air conditioning were the only sounds breaking the silence. I was stacking some items on a shelf when I felt it. That strange, crawling sensation on the back of my neck. The one you get when you're being watched. I paused and scanned the store, looking for anyone in sight. But there was no one. Not a single soul. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me. After all, working late hours alone can make anyone paranoid. But then, as I bent down to continue my work, I noticed something. Or rather, someone. A tall figure, standing near the storage room door, half hidden in the shadows. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. His face was obscured, like someone had put a mask on him, and he was watching me. I couldn't hear him breathing. My blood ran cold. I stood up quickly, trying to steady my breath. I called out, "Hey, is everything all right?" But the figure didn't move. He just stood there, eerily still. I wanted to run, but my legs felt like they were made of stone. Then, Tony, the manager, came rushing over, asking what was wrong. I pointed. Tony's face went pale as he saw the man, still standing there in the shadows. He didn't hesitate. "The mall's closed. You need to leave," Tony shouted, his voice sharp. But the man didn't respond. He just stayed there, motionless. And then, just like that, the figure took a step forward. I could feel the terror rising in my chest, the kind of fear that makes your body go cold. Tony backed away from him, and I did the same, eyes fixed on the man. My breath became shallow. What was he doing? Why was he here? Suddenly, he turned his head to the left, as if something had caught his attention. Without warning, he bolted, sprinting toward the back of the store. "Go after him!" I yelled to Tony, my voice shaking. I didn't want to be left alone with whatever this was. Tony took off after the man, disappearing into the shadows. I hesitated, but then followed. My heart was pounding, and my legs felt like they could give out at any second. I could barely keep up with Tony as we ran through the aisles of the store, looking behind boxes and shelves. It was dark, and the dim light flickered overhead. And then, it happened. I stopped dead in my tracks when I heard a box fall behind me. I turned slowly, my hands shaking. There, standing right behind me, was the man. He was even closer now. This time, I could make out his face. He was about 40 years old, tall, with a long beard and wild, unkempt hair. His eyes, though, they were hollow, dark, like something wasn't right with him. It wasn't just his appearance. It was the malice in his stare. He looked at me like I was prey. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. And then, I heard Tony's voice. "Get out of here!" he screamed, running back toward me. I looked up, relieved to see him, but when I turned to look back at the man, he was gone. Vanished. I stood there, frozen, wondering if I had imagined it all. But the fear still gripped me. Tony caught up to me, out of breath. "Where did he go?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Tony said, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I thought I saw him run down this aisle, but he's not here." We searched the back room for what felt like hours. Every box we moved, every dark corner we checked, there was no trace of the man. Not a single sign that he had ever been there. We even checked the security footage, hoping to get some clue as to who or what the man was, but the footage came up blank. It was as if he knew exactly where the blind spots were. There was no record of him. We finally gave up and locked up the store, both of us too shaken to even speak. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The image of the man's face kept replaying in my mind, those hollow eyes staring at me from the shadows. Days passed, and I tried to convince myself it was just some strange, one-off incident. But the feeling didn't leave. I felt like something was watching me, even when I was home, even when I was out with friends. The fear lingered, and then, a week later, Tony called me. "I saw him again," Tony said. "He's back." I didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. This time, Tony didn't hesitate to call the cops. The officers arrived quickly and began searching the mall. It didn't take long for them to find something that would change everything. They discovered a small crawl space hidden between the ceiling tiles of one of the hallways. A tiny, cramped space. And when they climbed up there, they found what they were looking for. The man had been living there for months, possibly even longer. He had set up a makeshift campsite, hidden from the cameras, hidden from the mall staff. He had been there all along, watching us. The police never released his identity, but the news said he was taken into custody for questioning. They never explained how he had gotten into the mall or what his intentions were. But I didn't care. I couldn't shake the image of him, hiding in the shadows, watching us. I quit my job soon after that. I couldn't go back to that mall, knowing that something, or someone, was still lurking in the shadows, waiting. I still don't know who or what that man was. All I know is that something was deeply wrong. Every time I walk past that mall now, I can't help but wonder if he's still out there, waiting in the dark, watching. It was a typical Saturday afternoon. My mom, my two younger sisters, and I were at the mall. I had just turned 7, and I was filled with excitement as we wandered through the busy halls. The bright lights, the many stores, and the hum of people made the mall seem like a whole new world to me. But it was in that very place, the place that felt safe, where something terrifying would happen, something I would never forget. I wasn't gone for long, just a few seconds. But when I turned back, they were gone. My mom, my sisters, they had vanished. In the midst of the crowd, I couldn't find them. I rushed to the bench where we had been, but it was empty. Panic set in. I was lost. I couldn't even remember which direction I'd come from. I started walking faster, weaving through the crowds. The mall felt endless. The more I walked, the more lost I became. People passed me by, not noticing my distress. I felt so small, so invisible. "Are you lost, sweetie?" She was older than my mom, dark hair, glasses, and a gentle voice. She asked if I was lost, and I nodded. Her smile was warm, and I felt like I could trust her. She told me she was going to help me find my mom. I didn't hesitate. I followed her, thinking I would be safe. We walked through the mall for what felt like forever. I wasn't paying much attention to where we were going, but I knew that we weren't near my mom's favorite stores anymore. When we reached the exit, I felt uneasy. This wasn't where we had come from. Why are we leaving the mall? My mom's still here, right? Don't worry, sweetie. Your mom's already left. But I know where she is. I'll take you to her. Security guard. Excuse me, ma'am. Who are you to this child? I didn't understand what was happening, but something felt wrong. The woman didn't answer the security guard. She just stood there, not saying a word. And then, before I knew it, she turned quickly and fled out of the doors. Stay here, okay? Your mom's looking for you. I'll make sure you're safe. Within minutes, my mom arrived, and I could see the panic in her eyes. She had been looking for me everywhere. She told the security guard that I was missing and described what I was wearing. The guard had already seen the woman trying to leave with me and stopped her before she could get any further. It turns out the woman wasn't there to help me. She was trying to take me somewhere far away from my mom. If it weren't for the security guard, I might have never seen my mom again. He saved me. After that, I didn't remember much. The police came, and I remember them asking me questions. But what really stayed with me was how quickly things could go wrong. How someone who seemed so kind could be so dangerous. It's a strange feeling, knowing that something like that could happen in a place that should feel safe. But it was a lesson learned. Not everyone who offers help has good intentions. And sometimes, the ones who protect you come from the most unexpected places.